here. Thank you for taking note of the mailers we sent out and showing up for the event today. My name is Joey Fernandez, and I'm part of the outreach team on the Septic to Sewer Conversion Project, and I'm really glad that you are all here to get some great information. I'm going to step back and just give a quick rundown of housekeeping. So I mentioned already, please silence your phones so that we can make sure everybody has an opportunity to hear the presentation today. Additionally, under the exit sign back here to the back of the room is the restrooms. If you need to use the restrooms, that's where you'll want to go. We have some cords taped down, so please be mindful of that. Additionally, we are only taking questions and answers from our participants that are on the Zoom call today. I mentioned that we're recording this, and we're also feeding this live to folks on the other parts of the state. So we'll take their questions during the Q&A, and after we release everyone to go to each station, we will then be available for one-on-one questions with you all, okay? So just hold on to your questions until the meeting is over, until the presentation is over, and right after we give that presentation, I'm going to explain how we're going to go through the stations and how we will receive your signed right of entry forms. So I'm going to step back and give the mic over to Christina, and she'll go from there.
Hello, welcome again. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Christina Henry. I am the Director of Community Relations at Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. We're going to go ahead and just go through this presentation. And like Joey said at the end, we would be more than happy to help you with any questions that you might have. The next slide. So here's a brief agenda of how today will go. We already did registration. Presentation will be until about 7 o'clock. And it gives us a full hour where we can answer any questions you have and we can collect those right of entry forms. So the purpose of this project, and for those of you, you all opted in, so this should sound pretty familiar. We're going to go ahead though, and we're going to give you a project overview. We're going to talk about the benefits of converting your septic system to EVMWD sewer system. We'll give you an estimated project timeline. We'll talk about a grinder pump. Some of you may have received information in your packet regarding grinder pumps. We'll talk about that. What you can expect during construction and what it is that we need you as homeowners to do so that we can go ahead and proceed with construction. Okay. So first what I want to do is introduce the project team. I'd like to start with Director Harvey Ryan, who's in the back. He is on the Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District Board of Directors. In addition, in the back, I have General Manager Greg Thomas, a Director of Water Resources, Parag Kalaria, Engineering Manager, Nelson Nuesca, and then up here with me today is Brian, give me a second, Korkog. Sorry, I'm new to Brian. He's our senior engineer, and Joe McGee is our principal engineer. So they will be very hands-on with the project. So from a technical aspect, these are your go-to. They are part of the technical team with our consultant. And then from an outreach perspective, everyone that's here today in the blue shirts is part of the outreach team. They partner with us to help get the information out to you. So, what is the Septic to Sewer Conversion Project? So we were lucky enough to secure funding from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which provides low-cost financing for sewer treatment, stormwater management, and sewer system projects. So it allows eligible participants to complete crucial infrastructure projects and address water quality needs. So in this case, we will be able to cover the costs associated with converting your private-owned septic to Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District sewer system. And the Avenue homes that opted in for the project before the April deadline will be converted from their septic system to our sewer system. This is a very unique opportunity. It's not very often that you hear that the state is going to give us funds to convert your entire septic system to sewer. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So it's a lucky thing. Here's just a brief overview of the area that's eligible in the Avenues. So again, if you receive that right of entry, that means you opted into this project. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pass it off to the subject matter expert, Joey.
Thank you, Christina. Good evening, everyone. Really good turnout. Appreciate you guys showing up. As Christina mentioned, Brian and I are in the engineering group. We're tasked with finishing the design and seeing this through construction, working hand in hand with our consultants and ultimately contractors. We'll start here on the slide with why is this project important? Many of you are aware of some of the downfalls of a septic system. Those include leaching nutrients as fecal coliform into the soil, which ultimately could contaminate the surrounding environment, especially groundwater or nearby creeks or swells or things of that nature, other surface waters. And it really doesn't matter which type of septic system you have. This is occurring anytime you percolate fluid from the septic system into the surrounding soil. Septic sewer system, as we described, as it percolates into the ground and ultimately could contaminate local groundwater or surface water. This is especially occurring, or a problem when it occurs across a large area. And that's why, again, as Christina mentioned, it's very advantageous for this program to go out and attack the entire neighborhood. So we appreciate all of the options that we have, and that's why we're proceeding with this project. The main problem with this contamination from the septic leaching into the soil is groundwater being extracted by a nearby well. That results in additional treatment from that well, which of course is extra cost. As opposed to a gravity system, which is completely contained, discharges into pipeline systems, into manholes, and then ultimately discharges into our treatment plant for tertiary treatment processes. Completely eliminating groundwater contamination. So what are some of the benefits of converting to the district system? Generally improving health, by reducing potential exposure. It obviously improves the groundwater quality, like we just talked about. More recycled water. Our plant treats all fluid discharged to it to recycled water standards. We reduce water pollution in general. Obviously reduce septic odors, especially again across the entire neighborhood. You have the potential for increased property value. Obviously, connections to a sewer system is advantageous. You get to eliminate any septic system maintenance costs. And then, of course, if any of you were planning on it sooner in the future, this does open up the possibility for ADUs on your property, whether by yourselves or children in the future, because that is a county permit requirement. A quick estimated project timeline here. As Christina mentioned, I think most of you are all well aware of adopted. That's why we're here. We will be talking in more detail about the ROE and obviously answering questions as we split apart. Was there anything further you wanted to add on ROE? Just that we'll come back to it.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Sounds good. We have a couple slides dedicated to that.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Corcock. So, with that said, thank you, Joe. Joe and I will be discussing in more detail more of the construction features and aspects that will take place with the general project timeline. Oh, I'm sorry. But I want to provide a general timeline of what's going to take place during construction, and what we'll get in the further slides as far as more detail of what's going to take place. So, with that said, when are we going to expect the construction to start, or the project to start? So we're anticipating sometime at the beginning of next calendar year of when this project will take the start of construction. So with that, what is to be expected? So first off, during construction, one thing that will be taking place is with the contractor is the main sewer line being installed, and then from there, sorry guys. So, and the next after that, the sewer line will installation from the public right of way to the main trunk line, and then from there, the grinder pump install will take place at a later date, and then the lateral mainline connections to help condition the project in its entirety. So this is just a generalized format or a generalized outline of what's going to take place. And next slide.
I want to expand on that a little bit, just let you know that similar to this outreach, it won't be the last time we talk to you. We'll be sending out notices when we start construction. We'll be sending out notices when we need to actually get onto the property to verify tank locations. And we'll be sending out notices again when we're ready to start building the new laterals. So we wanted to emphasize that this project will not start immediately with the lateral work on the properties. You're going to see very typical street work, heavy construction crews performing the installation of the pipelines and manholes. The lateral conversions occur at the end. Go to slide 11. There we go. So with that, we'll talk a little bit more about what's actually happening on the lot with the lateral work. Like I said very early on, we're going to identify the location of the tank as part of some reporting requirements that we have to the county. Then we will proceed with the destruction of the tank. The method of which it is destructed will vary. It will depend on a few factors. It will change from lot to lot. Depends on the type of tank, material of the tank, age of the tank. So that will be on a case-by-case basis. From there, we'll be working on the lateral itself with the general idea of intercepting your connection at the same place that the tank is. That way we minimize the redo of piping and minimize additional piping that is not required. If you did get notice in the mail regarding the grinder pump system, we would also at that time install the grinder pump, which also requires a connection to the electrical panel to drive the pump. So we have a real live action in the back there that you can take a look at. And we will inspect that electrical panel very early on in the project when we're locating your tank. Okay. So the grinder pump itself, how do you know if you need one? In general, a grinder pump is a wastewater pumping unit that's used in areas where the gravity sewer service is not available or practical. And it's typically installed for homes that are located below the main sewer line. So it's a physical problem. Obviously, the easiest thing for stormwater, and in our case, sewage flow, is to flow by gravity. If your lot is sufficiently below the street in front of you and your driveway goes down a grade, there's problems with gravity flow. So we've evaluated each of those lots in detail with our engineers and noticed the ones that we just could not avoid. The pipeline couldn't go any deeper to make sure that your lot was able to flow by gravity. So instead, we're going to pump it. And essentially what that does, and you'll see it in action in the back, is it turns the flow that is discharged from your homes into a holding tank, pressurizes it, and sends it up to our sewer system. They're pretty common. Pump will run. There are systems that they call simplex, so that are single pump. We elected, to the advantage of the community, to install this dual system to make sure that you have a very redundant, robust system that requires hopefully as little maintenance as possible, but ultimately that is still your responsibility to get with a local plumber and make sure that your standard maintenance is performed as you would on any appliance in your house. There is an alarm system, and that is something that we can actually show you as well. It's a very basic alarm. The green lights that you see when you turn around and take a look at it in the back will turn red, and there's a small audible alarm, which you will be able to hear in your house, and we've actually tested it. It's not too bad. It should not alert your neighbors, which is nice. And then depending on your household arrangement, obviously number of people and your general use, to power a system like this is anywhere to about $50 a year. We expect the pumps to run anywhere from 1 to 4 times a day total. The storage tank, again, as you see in that example, is very similar to what we plan to install. And it's very large, and we're trying to maximize storage time to reduce the amount of time the pumps need to run, which increases the lifetime of the pump. Some things you can expect during construction. Our community outreach team is going to continue to be in communication with you guys. And as I said on the other slide, we're going to start prior to construction, and as several other points that I mentioned, there are certain things that we want to make sure is well communicated with you guys on a per lot basis. There's some things that we need specific information for our contractor to know and for the county to be permitting the action. Once groundbreaking does occur, and again, that's going to start in the street with the heavy construction, with the excavators, with the dump trucks, putting in the pipe and manholes. That's going to impact the streets, just like you see on any other type of construction for any other utility. It's going to result in traffic control. It's going to result in delays in certain streets. We're probably going to impact the street at a time. There will be noise typical of any type of construction, but the working hours are typical. We should be wrapping up, by 4 o'clock every day. And then of course there's dust and probably parking impacts, because some of these streets are pretty tight. They'll need some space to maneuver, so we may do some temporary for the couple of days that they're in a specific area, no parking zones. But that's something we'll notice you guys well in advance to make sure that everyone can plan accordingly. And a key component of this is the property access itself. We've done a lot of investigation, including specific site visits. We've laid out the location of these laterals, and we plan to proceed with that as planned with our contractor when they are on board, as Brian described, hopefully early next year. But what we need from our residents as a teaming effort here is we really need you guys to make sure it's clear. If you have a car that's normally parked there, if you have a storage or something like that to that effect, clear it out of the way to make sure the contractor can get in and out. It reduces their time frame that they're on your property. It simplifies the work, and it makes sure that we succeed in getting everything installed as quickly as possible. And for the few of you that do have a grinder pump system, that does include your breaker panel. Like I said, we'll have some electrical panel potential inspections and connections for that grinder pump. So you will have a couple workers like you would if you called a cable guy or a plumber in the house to make those changes and upgrades.
Okay, so next slide, please. So what do we need you as a property owner to do? The right of entry form. So all of you should receive this in your packet. You have time. We'll go ahead and go through the timeline right now. So the right of entry is the contract basically between the property owner and us as a government entity that allows us to go ahead and go on your property and do the work that we need to go ahead and do. So it includes all the details of the type of work that the district is going to complete and any noticing that is required before we do the work. So an important thing to note here is we cannot start construction until we receive all signed right of entries, and on that right of entry, every single property owner on the deed must sign in order for us to accept it. So that's an important thing. Can we go to the next slide? So they were all mailed to your homes. You do have time to sign them. We don't need them immediately, but we do need them by a deadline, which we'll go ahead and talk about. We are only going to be able to accept completed right of entry forms. That means that we need all property owners on the deed to sign, as well as provide a copy of their government issued ID. So driver's license, government issued ID, passport, anything like that that verifies that that is you. And we are asking that they either be dropped off here today. You can mail them to this address, which should have been included in the collateral that was mailed out. There's an address, a self-addressed stamped envelope on there to mail it back to us. You can also drop them off at the district headquarters on Cheney Street if you'd like. We are accepting them there. Again, though, they have to be completed. And we are accepting them. We're asking that they all be sent in to us by the September 30th deadline so that we can go ahead and proceed with the construction timeline. Okay, so today, and Joey will go through that in a little bit, you have the opportunity to go ahead and provide that to us today if it's completed. If not, if you forgot your copy that was mailed to you, that's fine. We have copies here that you're able to fill out for you and have you sign as long as all property owners are present here at the meeting. Next slide. So here's some contact information with regards, this is the contact information if at any time you have any questions with regards to this project. There's the hotline number, the email address. I am the project manager at the district. My information is also listed on our webpage, which is right there for you as well. But if at any time you have questions, like I said, you can contact us and we'll be more than happy to assist. Okay. So as I mentioned, to be conscious of the time, because this meeting is two parts, the presentation, and then we want to accept right of entry forms if you're ready to turn them into us. We have stations set up, and we ask that you go through each station. I'm going to take questions from Zoom before we close out, but I want to give directions first. So the stations are 1, 2, 3, and then the grinder pump station. When the meeting is over and the questions have been received from Zoom and we're done, we're going to ask you all who want to turn in your forms today, we're going to move this equipment here and have you form a line. You're going to go to station 1 first. We're going to confirm that your ID matches the name on your form. If you forgot your form, you can just go straight to station 2 and somebody will fill that form out for you and confirm your ID. From there, they will move you to station 3, which is 4 tables, so you don't get backed up. There's somebody at each table that will take your right of entry form, either signed or have you sign it there. They will also take a photocopy of your ID. We'll take a picture of your ID. We'll take your form for you, we'll take that copy of the ID and we'll file it away and you should be good to go. Now, Christina mentioned something that's really important. We're not taking incomplete documents. That means if Jane Smith and John Smith are on the deed, but only John Smith showed up today, he's got to go back home or coordinate with Jane Smith to turn everything in together. We are not taking anything partial. If you came with your right of entry form but forgot your driver's license, we are not taking that form today. We want to make sure that everything stays together and everything is tracked accordingly. As Christina mentioned, we mailed out self-addressed stamped envelopes, so you can just drop what you need to in the envelope and drop it in the mail. You can also scan those forms to email along with a copy of your photo and email it to the project email address, which is on the paperwork that we provided to you. You can also drop it off at the location at Cheney Street at the district office. But again, at no time will we receive any impartial, or I'm sorry, if we don't have everything. So if you sent something in and we didn't receive a copy of your ID, we'll let you know you need to resubmit everything again. So with that being said, again, when we break out, we will have time for questions individually, but right now I'm going to ask if there's any questions on Zoom. There's one question on Zoom. So Gina, if you want to go ahead and ask that question.
Hi, this question is from Justin. He states he just completed a 4-lot merger next to my property that I have plans to build another house and ADU on as soon as the sewer is in. Can I have a line added for this property at this time to avoid a separate dig and access? And that's the only question.
We're gonna go ahead and if Justin can provide us with some information, a callback, we're gonna have to look into that specific instance so that we can give the correct answer. Yeah, so we'll need the location, we'll need the address, we're gonna need a little more details so that we can answer that appropriately.
Well, we do have a little extra time since we don't have questions really from Zoom except for the one. So we'll take a couple of questions here if you have any right now. Yes.
Is like a more detailed plan as to where they're gonna start? Like section one?
We have a general idea, and it's based on the gravity sewer shed, so we've set up our plans in that manner. But the detailed part of that, which will be, it'll be dictated later when we have a contractor on board, because it'll vary. It depends on the contractor's needs, how many crews they're gonna put at it. If they have more than 2 crews, then we might be noticing multiple neighborhoods that we're starting on 4 streets at once. So it's hard to say right now. But in general, like we started with, we're hoping to kick this off early next year and expect about 10 to 12 months of street work and then about 4 to 6 months of work on the property.
Any other questions right now?
Quick question, so that timeline was about a year and a half worth of construction?
That's right. Between the street work and the lateral work on the property is 18 months total.
Follow-up question, what entry gives you easement all the way through December 2030? Why that much time?
Parag, are you okay handling that one? There's a lot of things that we had to put in there based on state requirements. And because we're doing the work, if we have to go back out for the warranty period, it's also in there. But that's a year, yeah. But there is a reason why, unfortunately, I don't know that answer, but I believe Parag does. So I'm gonna have Parag address it.
I think you covered it really well. Some of the requirements, as you know, they come from grant funding for this particular project. So some of the requirements are driven by the funding itself, the funding agreements we have with the state. So the state is driving some of those requirements definitely pass on.
So it's a construction easement, but yet it's a requirement for funding.
That is correct.
Well, there's a lot of audits that take place afterwards because it is state funded. So that's mainly why, but.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, there are a lot of requirements, and it does have a lot to do with audit
Where they need access to the property.
Right.
Any other questions?
All right.
No other questions.
Now we'll go ahead and one question in Zoom.
Does the street work going on in Avenues have anything to do with the project right now?
Does the street work still on that?
It is definitely not the same. We have not advertised for construction yet. We are in coordination with the city. I know they have some storm drain work and they might have some paving and curb work, so it's probably associated with that. It's definitely not our sewer project.
Okay, that was the last question.
Okay.
So now we're gonna go ahead and break out. Like I mentioned, you have everything to turn in your right of entry form today. We are going to be taking those now.
We just need you all to go to station 1. So far, try to get in out that way at station 1, and from there, they'll direct you to the next station. If you
Didn't bring your right of entry form or prepared to sign one and have a copy of your ID, you can go straight to station 2.
go ahead and get started with station 1.
And please take some time to look at all of the boards around. Thank you.